Gran Turismo 7's Power Pack DLC is only a few weeks away, and a couple of days ago I made a video checking out the trailer and blog post to see what secrets we could uncover, and whilst there was a lot to digest, something that was staring me right in the face all along I completely missed, and it's thanks to you guys, my viewers, that this has finally been pointed out to me, and I have to admit it does have me a little bit worried. But before we discuss this, I'm trying to get this channel to 70,000 subscribers, so if you want to stay up to date with everything GT7 and motorsport gaming related, then feel free to leave a like, subscribe and turn your notifications on. Anyway, let's go ahead and get straight to it. So first of all, I want to start off by clarifying my stance on the Power Pack DLC. Now, for someone like me who's had thousands of hours out of GT7 and of course appreciates the fact that the main meat of post-launch content such as cars, tracks and VR and such has remained entirely free of charge to the player, means that I genuinely don't mind too much that GT7 is receiving probably its one and only paid DLC pack to the game. Of course, this is something that we've seen ever since GT5 got its first post-launch DLC, and it's continued on from then. And admittedly, as a developer, Polyphony Digital doesn't really try and milk players' wallets dry for post-launch content, and this is something that in the sim racing scene is becoming rarer and rarer, with single cars and single tracks and more sometimes costing upwards of £10 per item, and sometimes even higher than that. And really, in a gaming landscape of battle passes and AI slop skins becoming paid content all the time, a single DLC pack really doesn't stand out as the worst thing to ever happen, especially considering this actual pack itself launches alongside the entirely free, spec-free update the exact same day, which of course is free for everybody, which includes 2 brand new tracks and 8 new cars as well as a bunch of new changes. And well, the way I see it, if the profit from this DLC pack goes into making GT7 an even better product or future Gran Turismo titles even better with more licenses and more tracks and such, then so be it. Honestly, I'm all for it. However, like everything, I do understand that this has its pros and cons, and this is something I even touched upon when the pack was first announced, but being powered by a new version of Sophy AI, which hasn't been seen before, Sophy 3.0, this seems to be the main selling point of the pack. Of course, giving players a chance to have a more true to motorsport challenge against easily the single best racing AI currently out there. However, thanks to my viewers, it seems that maybe by taking steps forward to give players a chance to race the strongest version of Sophy AI yet, it may have actually triggered a 1 step forward, 2 steps back type situation. So what seems to be the problem then? Well, in its current form and what seems to be the case alongside the spec-free update, Gran Turismo 7 gives their players chance to race against Sophy AI 2.1. Now of course this is an evolved version of Sophy AI 2.0, which is a stronger version of the original Sophy AI that we saw. Now in this current 2.1 version, this allows players to create custom races and even lend their custom cars to the Sophy AI, with a full possible 20 car grid in any type of race you can think of, making use of almost every single car inside of GT7 at set tracks. It's incredibly customizable, and honestly it was a huge step forward over what we had prior. Now there's one thing that we do know for 100% certain when it comes to the Power Pack DLC is that the entire thing and all 50 events contained within are powered by that new version of Sophy AI 3.0. Now we don't really know too much about the AI at present, but more than likely it's an evolution of the previous Sophy AI, meaning it's more than likely faster, smarter and can race the player much better. And on paper, this admittedly sounds incredible, an even faster and better, smarter version of easily the best racing AI in any racing game, my own custom cars to tackle these brand new 50 events, including a 24-hour endurance race, and then I saw this comment a couple of days ago, and it's honestly thanks to Vits Patel that I'm actually making this video and hopefully making you guys a little bit more aware as to why the Power Pack DLC might be a little bit more make or break depending on really what you want from it. Now he goes on to say, I noticed that some of these events had predetermined cars. like in the JGTC event. You're in the Honda NSX. Doesn't appear that you're given any choice of to which of the 90s era Super GT machines to use. Hopefully there's an opportunity to use whatever car you want that meets the requirements for that event. So as soon as I saw this comment, I started looking back at some of the Power Pack DLC screenshots as well as the trailer, and of course just checking around the UI and such, and it does seem that it was staring me right in the face all along, and he's 100% onto something here. Now if we look at the Power Pack DLC UI, we can see there's a bunch of icons with different cars in them. Now really what I assumed here, of course it does seem like there's some special versions of cars, is that basically these were placeholder images to explain what type of vehicle is going to be used for that type of event. So if we take the current version of Gran Turismo 7 for example, when it comes to the event cards, we can see that this is something that is already in place. We have a bunch of vehicles listed on that car that relate to that event type. So the World Touring Car 700 is Group 4, Neoclassical is Classic Group C machinery and GT machinery, and things such as the Japanese 4-wheel drive challenge is a bunch of 4-wheel drive Japanese cars. Now if there's one thing that we do know for sure about the Power Pack DLC is that the DLC itself is split into different sectors, whether that's different types of racer machinery like say Group 2, Group 3, Group C and such, or different road machinery in terms of one makes like Honda Civics or Cup cars and such. It's all split up into different categories and different regions such as Asia, Europe, the Americas, you name it, it pretty much covers every single type of vehicle inside of GT7 and gives players a chance to race Sophy AI 3.0. And I think that's what a lot of us just assumed the Power Pack DLC was going to be like, in that all of these UI images were just, I guess, placeholders for the type of vehicles or region of vehicles that we'd be using. So I went back to the screenshot that Vitz had mentioned with the Castrol NSX, and as we can see that is the UI icon here for this event. Now we also get some more details when it's highlighted. We can see that this is set in Japan, it's part of the All Japan GT Championship or JGTC and takes place at Fuji International Speedway. But more importantly, in the bottom right hand of the information, we can see once again the Castrol NSX, and it seems that yes, every single car that shows up on these UIs in the menu is actually the set predetermined car that you'll be having to use for the Power Pack DLC up against Sophy 3.0. Well, if you need more proof that this is pretty much 100% confirmed to be the case, well, look at this in-game screenshot. As we can see from the top left, this is the Power Pack, the All Japan GT Championship, which is the event we saw highlighted, and well, yes, it takes place at Fuji International Speedway. You'll also notice on the right hand side, the car for this event is the Honda NSX GT500 from the year 2000, or more commonly known as the Castrol NSX. However, if you take note of the event selected car being the NSX GT500, well, look at the top of the screen. The actual car selected by the player that's currently in use by them is the NSX Type R from 1992, or the road going variant, which pretty much means whilst the car selected for the event and being used by the player in this event is the GT500 NSX, it's not actually the car in use by the player themselves, meaning that yes, this is a pre-selected car for this event, which if we go back to the UI of the Power Pack, more than likely means every single car that's shown in an icon here is going to be the car that's used by the player to tackle the Power Pack DLC events, every single one of them being predetermined with no freedom for the player to choose. And admittedly, this does have me a little bit worried. So yes, whilst the choice to go ahead and make all of these events be powered by Sophy AI 3.0 is fantastic from a gameplay perspective, when it comes to player choice and freedom, there's absolutely none in this Power Pack DLC, which also means when it comes to the 24-hour endurance event, there's more than likely going to be absolutely no freedom into which car you can go ahead and tackle that 24-hour race with, which is incredibly unfortunate. So whilst yes, it's always great to talk about the highs of something like this and the DLC pack, again, I do think it's important to cover the more controversial, or I guess the lows of the pack as well, and hopefully that way you can make a much stronger, more informed purchase of this DLC if you do wish to. Again, it's all about being as open and transparent as possible, and hopefully it does keep you guys as informed as possible as well. I want to say a huge thank you to Vits Patel for pointing this one out to me, and of course sending me down the rabbit hole to do some research. Massive thank you to all of you guys watching at home, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care guys, peace.